everyone. Welcome to tonight's Facebook Live. This is Christine Dahl from Fashion Ninja Warrior. This is episode number 76. We are doing a live interview with fashion designer Crystalline Brennan of Crystalline K. I am super excited. She's going to be hopping on in just a moment. I'm going to wait a couple minutes for a bunch of people to get on here. In the meantime, don't forget to share this video. Just make sure that you tell people they cannot watch it unless they're part of our Fearless Fashionpreneur Facebook group. Also, don't forget to give me your thumbs up, give me your hearts. I love it. It's like oxygen to me. I need it. And so definitely don't forget to chime in as we're going along and send us your questions as well for Crystalline. I am super, super excited to have a very, very special guest on today. And I'm just going to wait a few moments for her to grab her phone and hop on, and we will get started. How's everyone doing? Hey, Crystalline, awesome. So just tap on the same thing you tapped on before, that little button, and I will add you to the video. So weird. I can't do it on my end for some reason, but oh, wait, maybe you're there. Hi, Joy. How are you? How's everyone doing? Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. There we go. Where are you calling in from, Joy? Hey, Daniela. All right, Crystalline is here. Awesome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for taking the time to be on. Is the sound okay?
The sound is great this time. I'm so happy.
Okay, good. Perfect. Awesome. So hi, everyone. Again, I'm Christine Dahl with Fashion Ninja Warrior. Thank you so very much for tuning in. These are our weekly Facebook. Also do them on Instagram lives. This is episode number 76. We are doing a live interview with fashion designer Crystalline Brennan of Crystalline K. I'm super excited to have her on. And don't forget to share this video. Just let people know that they have to be part of our Fearless Fashionpreneur group in order to watch it. And don't forget to give us your hearts, give us your thumbs up, and all of your questions that you have for Crystalline, and she will make sure to answer them. So thank you so much again, Crystalline, for being here. Today we are going to discuss a little bit about how she started her sustainable fashion brand, the role that social media has played in her business, and how her brand has changed since she first got started, and so much more. So I'm going to read a quick little bio on Crystalline so that you all have a little bit of background here. So Crystalline Brennan is an inadvertent pioneer of the sustainable fashion design, having created her first collection of handbags in 2001 from a warehouse stash of dead stock vintage plaid pants, which is awesome. She sold them door to door to boutiques across the US and built her own e-commerce website years before Etsy even existed. Today, nearly 20 years later, Crystalline continues creating sustainable handbags in a timeless styles with durability and functionality right in New York City. You can learn more about her sustainable business practices and behind the scenes on her blog, and visit her workshop in Industry City in Brooklyn Sunset Park neighborhood. Don't forget to follow her on Instagram, Crystalline K. Her Facebook profile link I've included in the bio. Her website, crystallinek.com. And as a very special offer for all of you, she's offering 18% off her entire site for her 18th year in business. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So just use the code CELEBRATE18 to take that discount there. So thank you so much, Crystalline. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So tell us a little about your background.
My background, I got my degree in fashion and apparel and textiles in Washington State. And but to back it up even further, I had been sewing from a very young age, and I think it really clicked when my dad, who would restore vintage muscle cars, said, "Hey, if you lend a hand, you'll get a car of your own when you're 16." So I found myself gravitating more towards the upholstery work. And somewhere I think that little seed got planted, but it wasn't until I was in school. I thought I wanted to be a buyer for Nordstrom or do some merchandising along those lines.
Right,
That
right,
I did
right.
an internship at Liberty of London,
Ooh,
and
that sounds fun.
it was some of it was just Excel spreadsheets is what intern would do. But I got to tag along to some of the workshop visits and helping some of the designers get ready for Fashion Week, and I was just tagging along, but it demystified the whole idea of a fashion designer. And their workshops didn't look that different from my dad's workshop fixing cars. And somehow
Huh.
that really resonated. Somehow it all kind of came together of someday I want to do this for myself. I think this is
Yeah.
something that I want to do. So that really, really stuck in my head at a really early age.
Well, it's an interesting correlation, and I'm glad that you mentioned your dad because I feel like my dad had an integral part in me becoming a fashion designer
Oh
also
yeah?
because he was always good with his hands and building things, right? And so he was good with like electrical and woodworking and building things, and he built our garage and built an entire
Yeah.
bathroom and just like that whole idea of building something from nothing, right? Or restoring, like your dad in this case was restoring
Yeah.
something kind of from nothing almost. It does kind of correlate a lot to being a designer.
It makes so much sense now looking back, but at the time,
Right. No, at the time you're like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So you do come from a fashion background and a lot of textiles
yeah.
mainly.
Yeah, a lot of that kind of thing.
Okay.
My first real job that kind of pushed me over the edge was working for a company that had hired me to help source textiles and for company uniforms and that sort of a thing. But it was
Okay.
the tremendous amount of mass production and tremendous amount of it was just kind of soulless design. It just my heart wasn't in it.
Uh-huh.
And I think some of it was just seeing how you could create something, have it made, how you babysat it through its production process, how you sold it, that it worked for me. And I thought, why can't I do this on my own smaller scale? There's got to be a way to do it
Yeah.
in its own smaller version of it. So it's kind of where it all kind of came together.
Yeah. And how did the whole sustainability thing come about? Like, was it something from the very beginning that you were all for, or did it kind of naturally evolve? Or,
I think it was honestly somewhat of a natural evolution. While I was still working that kind of soulless, frustrating job, I was making clothes and pillows on the side for my coworkers and for their friends. So I started selling things to my coworkers early on and thinking, okay,
yeah.
I'm onto something. And I would make skirts out of jeans. I'd make jean skirts out of jeans or out of vintage pillowcases. So I was kind of doing some thrifting and playing around with it because I liked that sort
Like
of slightly retro.
upcycling.
Yeah, but I did
Yeah.
it because it was fun because I liked the challenge of having these one-off pieces. I Something about just buying a bolt of fabric and designing from that is really intimidating to me. It's not how my brain
Okay.
works. I need a little
Interesting.
thread of an idea or a design
Yeah.
challenge, and that's what kind of does it for me. So I
Okay.
quit my job. Long crazy story, but I decided to quit my job and cash out my 401k
Wow.
to start out on this business at 22 years old
Wow.
and sold at markets, outdoor markets I lived in Seattle at the time. And a guy approached me. He saw that my booth was filled with nothing but things made from vintage jeans and pillowcases. And he said, I have a warehouse of vintage dead stock, t-shirts, clothes, blah, blah, blah. You should come take a look at this because it seems like you're onto this. You're doing well at the market. Like you could find a more reliable stash. And when I went to go see it, I was blown away. There were
Yeah.
probably close to 1,000 pairs of plaid
Oh my
pants
gosh.
that the bottom half of the pant leg had been cut off and had been sent off somewhere to be turned into shorts. And there was just
Oh,
the
okay.
bottom half of the pant legs that were still there. But it really opened my eyes to this massive stash that's all over the country of dead stock.
Right.
And it
Yeah.
kind of got my wheels to turning on what could I do with this? I don't have to use new things. And it wasn't necessarily from a sustainability standpoint of it was just being inspiring. And yeah, deep down I thought it was cool because that's what I did with my dad doing that with cars or so somewhere
Right.
that all
Right.
connected again.
Yeah. That's so interesting that, I mean, you have this love for basically sustainability, but it wasn't really a thing back then. I mean, nobody was talking about sustainability 20 years
No,
ago.
no,
Yeah.
definitely not. Definitely
So you
not.
really kind of like pioneered it, which is awesome.
Very inadvertently, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird to think
Yeah.
of now.
Yeah. Cool. And so I know at a certain point you were also, so you were doing markets in the beginning, and then I know at a
Yeah.
certain point you were also going like door to door selling your stuff. Talk about that
Oh my
experience because
God.
I'm sure that was pretty humbling and also really took a lot of courage.
It does take a lot of courage. I don't know what, but I think what did it was I signed up and did trade shows, say in San Francisco, I think was the first time that I really did this. I did the San Francisco gift show and it was dead in there. It was just crickets. I didn't really get many orders. And the stores that I had heard about or researched didn't come to the show. So
Oh,
I
wow.
called them and said, hey, I'm still in town for the show. Are you around? Can I come see you? Can I come show them to you? And a lot more stores went for it that way than I'd got more orders by doing it in person.
Right,
So I thought,
right.
okay, well, I like being around people. I love retail. I love that kind of layer of getting feedback and hearing what they want and what their customers are looking for, and if my price points were too high or too low. So I thought,
Hmm.
okay, this is something I'm due. So I stuck around for another week. My mom was helping me sew at the time, and I called her and said, hey, all those half cut purses that I sent your way, can you crank out some more in the next couple of weeks? Because I'm going to stick down
Oh,
here
wow.
and I'm going to go to LA
Okay.
and do the same thing. So I did that, and I did decent enough that I thought the purses are really what's working. This is what I'm going to focus on now.
Okay.
Through the years, about 2 or 3 times a year, I would hop in the car and I drove from Seattle all the way down to San Diego and back in a
Wow.
Zip car back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
And this is before Zipcar charged for gas or gave you like the mileage cap. So
Okay.
Zipcar ended up paying more in gas than what I had to even pay for the use of the
Oh my
Zipcar for
gosh,
this
that's
like
so
week and a half
funny.
long road trip. And
Ah,
I
that's
just,
so fun.
it was a combo of I looked at my competitors' websites, I saw what stores they sold in, and I kind of just made a
Always a
heat
good
map
idea.
of
Yep.
where are the towns. Even if that wasn't the right fit for me, those are the good places to go.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I honed in. I made some appointments. Sometimes I just did drive-bys. I'd wander the neighborhood and try to find the store that felt like the best fit and talk to them first. If they
Yeah.
passed or the owner wasn't there, I'd leave a line sheet behind and or what I thought was a line sheet at the time, which is basically just like a postcard with some pictures on it, which works.
Yeah.
And kind of tackled it that way. But I love getting out on the road. I like travel. I like traveling. I like being around people, and I like to see where my bags sell. I want to get a better feel for who's shopping and what they're looking for. So just that
Right.
in-person experience. Being an entrepreneur is so isolating. Like I just wanted to
Yeah.
be around people.
Yeah. And you make a really good point. Like I tell all my clients, you've got to get out and visit the stores. Like it's
It's
so important to
scary.
see. It is scary, but it's so important to see, like you said, the customer who's buying it, what they're looking for, right? And just where your stuff is going to hang, who else is in the store, what's the vibe of the
Absolutely.
store, what's the price point of the store. Like all of that stuff is super, super important. Both like before you're selling to the store and then also after you're selling to the
Oh
store,
yeah.
right? You want to make sure that your display looks nice and they've got it all pretty
Yeah.
and the way that you would like it, right?
It makes a difference to be able to have that relationship. And if customers ask the store a question that they don't know how to answer, they've had FaceTime with me and they don't have any problem reaching out and saying, hey, this customer wants to know if you'll make this in gray or if you do it in
Right.
brass hardware or that kind of thing. And what I would say is if someone is very intimidated on going to go talk to a store or go do some reconnaissance, go on a weekend when it's really busy. You'll blend in. No one's
Right.
going to bug you. They won't even remember you probably, but get a feel, see who you hang with, and then go back and approach them on a slow day during a weekday when you've done your research. And I think that's the key. If you just walk in blindly into a store, that's a very high likelihood that they're going to blow you off and you're going to feel disappointed or embarrassed. But if you've
Right.
done your
Right.
research and you really genuinely get what they're doing,
Yeah.
people usually are nice. The biggest blow off you usually get is just like, oh, leave a line sheet. And you're like, okay, here you go.
Right. Right.
Ball's in your court now.
Right, exactly. And at least you've left something behind for them to follow up and look at your
Yeah.
stuff. Now,
Yeah.
did you find there was something like specific you would say every single time you talk to a buyer or like
Hmm.
a way that you would, kind of pitch them on your line? Like,
Yeah, I would usually pay attention to what kind of bags they already have and see if there was something that
okay,
I did that was either very different, either my bags were more colorful, or they only had leather bags and have some vegan options, or just kind of
okay,
looking for that thing that would maybe
like
make my bags
loophole.
be different for them and then
Yeah,
ask. Sometimes they didn't have hardly any bags at all, and I would say, I notice you don't have a lot of bags. Do they not do well for you, or are they just sold out? Just really big, open, vague questions. Like if you think about when you're doing a pop-up and customers ask you really vague, odd questions, you're just trying to like get the conversation going. So if you can just kind of
right.
chat them up, you can't chat up so much that they think that you're going to be a paying customer, because they get a little annoyed with that too. But if you're just like, I'm
Right.
a designer and I want to kind of get a feel for your store, does this line do well for you? Or what are some things your customers are asking for?
Yeah. Cool. Great
Yeah.
advice. I love it. And so what typically inspires you? Like when you're coming up with a new collection and you're getting your design ideas together, what do you get inspired by?
It's mostly the fabrics that I find, because I'm working with dead stock. When I see it, I have to buy it.
Yeah.
So I usually have a stockpile, and I start kind of sorting things in my studio by vibe. It was like whether it's like kind of some funky plaids. I always like to mix plaid with floral, but it's got to be the right amount. So I'll end up having a stack. I don't usually do like fall, winter, that kind of thing. It's a lot more of
Right.
things that resonate together. And so it's kind of done by stacks and then tubs in my
Yeah.
studio of things that look great together. And as things start to kind of come together, then I play around a little bit more. I mean, I'm always, looking through magazines and have a bit of a mood board going of a vibe that I like. But I think there's
Okay.
something to that connected thread of like, I have to start with the fabric and then I'll fill
Yes.
in the blanks from there. So it's, going to Fab Scrap, or it's thrifting, or it's finding another dead stock area. Those are usually the places that do it for me, is by the material
Yeah.
first. And then when I design a bag, I don't design a silhouette with a print in mind. I usually just leave it blank white and just do some shadow, like I do like a little quickie watercolor of it, so that I'm just thinking about the shape and the form of it. And
Right.
somehow that stack of fabric turns into, oh, that fabric really only be best suited for a pocket. So we'll say, though, this is for that. Now I need to find the lining. And I kind of puzzle piece it together from there. It's not
Right.
methodical at all. It's very organic. And I think
Yeah.
that is what maybe is a key to my longevity, but also might be
Yeah.
why I've never really tried to grow into this massive gajillion-dollar company.
Right. Right. And you still make everything yourself?
No,
Okay.
no,
Good. Good. I'm glad to hear
no,
that.
no. I sell several thousand of bags a year, so no.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Good. Good.
in the beginning, I did for first couple of years, but it was myself, my mom, and some interns,
Okay.
and then I hired one employee, and then we would take. This is during the road trip days, driving from the entire West Coast. So I would cut, Lindsay would sew, then Lindsay would cut, and I would sew, and we would tag team back and forth. And at a
Okay.
certain point, I started realizing I need to find like a real sewing contractor. And luckily, in Seattle, there's a handful of outdoor gear companies. So there is some manufacturing in Seattle. So I kind of started looking around.
Okay.
I think it was in the phone book,
Wow.
and went and talked to a few places. And the first batch that I did was actually using a 0% credit card that, they'll send you those checks.
Okay.
I did that for the first one. I had $5,000, access to $5,000, and it was a
Oh, wow.
0% credit card check. And it was
Yeah.
maybe 6 months, 0%, but I had to hustle.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not paying interest on this.
No.
That's so funny.
So no, so I do production, but mostly my design process is what I was saying earlier, with the fabrics and the sorting and the kind of puzzle piecing it together. But like I have a photo shoot tomorrow, and I made all the photo shoot samples because they're the
Wow.
the first ones I wanted to play with. I also was under a bit of a deadline, and I just wanted to be able to play around and see how things kicked out. But normally I do the
Kind of.
prototypes and then sew the first 6 or 8, just to make sure that I understand how they're made, to kind of work out some of the production kinks. It saves me a lot of money and hassle.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
can do it, it's good. You don't have to, obviously, but it helps
Yeah,
for me.
it's helpful. It's definitely helpful to make prototypes yourself because, like you said, you do work out a lot of the kinks. And if you were hiring somebody or paying somebody, you would have to pay them to work out all those kinks and every change or
Absolutely.
every mistake or every revision that you're making, right? You're paying someone to do all that for you. So yes, it does
True.
help in the beginning.
And it makes
Definitely.
me lose a little bit of creative control, I will confess. So the control freak in
Yeah.
me likes to be able to work those kinks
Yeah,
out myself,
yeah. I know
much
a
to
lot of
the,
designers that are control freaks. I
I'm a
totally
nightmare.
get it. I totally get it. But for scalability reasons, I mean, you have to be able to outsource it at some point because you
Yeah.
just can't scale. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What's nice is I'm in New York, so I have all of my contractors are a half-hour train right away, and they're all within 3 blocks of each other in the city.
Oh,
So
great.
it
Yeah,
makes it really, really doable.
really convenient. Yeah. Totally. So
Yeah.
we touched on a little bit, you mentioned cashing out your 401k. Let's talk
Yeah.
a little bit about the finances. Like how is that how you got started with the line?
Yeah, I used most of that 401k I ended up using to build out a storefront that I had found.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
started out of my basement doing the markets and had quickly outgrown the basement apartment and asked my landlord if they had any bigger spaces and told them what I was up to. And they said, well, we do have a storefront over in the Green Lake neighborhood, which is like a storefront and you could live in the back.
Oh, okay.
And the price was very affordable. I jumped at it. I absolutely jumped at it. It was an old hair salon and it was pretty gross. It was linoleum and weird mirrors and
Yeah.
still chairs. Like they had moved out. So that a lot of it was just some not heavy demo, but my mom and I scraped up all of the linoleum off the floor and painted and got it back down to bare cement and knocked down some
Right.
of the walls from the tanning bedrooms and that kind of thing. And to do some of the build out. I was doing some freelance styling for a photography studio in town as well to make extra cash, of course. And they had all kinds of leftover gallons of paint from photo shoots. So I took all that home and used that to paint. So I did as much as I could renovating that. And at the ripe young age of 22, you don't have that much in your 401k. I think I had about $7,000 in it. So
Okay.
with
Okay.
that, I used that for the build out for the storefront. And I think it financed a little bit of materials, but for the most part, I just invested it in the space. And
Okay.
I was there for a good 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you did very well.
I did great. It was see, now this is turning into the longest conversation ever. Sorry.
That's okay. I love it. I love it. We've got some
Um,
people joining us. So hey
Tune in
everyone,
for part six.
thanks so much for joining. If you've got any questions for Crystalline, chime in and we will ask them to her. Okay. So yes, tell
Sorry.
me about the store. I'm curious.
Um, so I didn't have enough things to fill the store with just my bags, obviously, and I did like a little bit of jewelry and cute things. So, but I met all these other designers at all the markets I was doing.
Of
So,
course.
Nancy, your artwork's amazing. Fran, your lotions are so great. Blah blah blah. And so everyone consigned with me, and we had a whole like kind of artist collective in that neighborhood, and it was great because we had little cards for gifts. We had some higher end pieces. We had some art and that gave me that community that I wanted and that kind of collaborative thing. And we would do openings once a month and feature a different designer and have parties. And it was a fun time. It was a really great
Yeah.
because no one was doing that. It was so unheard of. And
Yeah.
this is like 2002 to about 2007. It that didn't really go on then.
Yeah. No, you definitely sounded like it seems like you pioneered a lot of things, not just the sustainability, but the co-working,
I just
artisan space
didn't want to
and
do it the way you're supposed to, you're supposed to
yeah,
go to college
yeah,
and get a job and get venture capital if you start a business. And it just didn't work for me. It's just not
yeah.
how I roll.
No, but it's inspiring. It's inspiring
Good.
to a lot of people that don't have huge budgets, right, to get started.
Yeah.
And, hearing the different things that you did, getting a 0% interest for 6 months, and
Yeah.
maxing it out and,
Yeah.
hustling to make the money back, that's inspiring. That's what a lot of my clients are doing, right? They don't have big budgets. They don't have
Mm-mm.
investors lined up, right? And
Yeah.
so they're just doing whatever they can possibly do.
But to finish answering your finance question, sorry. I've gotten a
Yes.
Kiva loan that was very helpful. I
Okay.
did that a few years ago.
Okay.
I'm bootstrapped, but I have definitely borrowed from credit cards. Sometimes it's worked out great, other times it's not, and you kind of take that gamble. There's always working capital from Square and Shopify and that kind of thing, kind of those micro sort of loans, and those are, I don't know, mine were like from $4,000 to maybe $6,000 tops, and then pay
Okay.
those off. But what I have been kind of really feeling over the last few years is how much do I really want to gamble with this future huge gains with some of this money when I really kind of realize how little I can get by on. I listened to a book called Profit First not that long ago, and it was talking about how as your business grows, sometimes your operating expenses really balloon into a place that they don't need to be, and you
Yes.
stop paying yourself what you should be paying. You pay your employees,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't pay yourself,
Yes.
and you get into a bad cycle. And honestly, I was kind of getting into that place, and I thought there's
Okay.
a lot of things that I'm paying for that I probably don't need to be doing. I'm not that big and I don't need to have this bloated budget, and it's made a big difference.
That's awesome. That's so
So
good. Yeah, sometimes scaling back is important, especially when it comes to operating expenses,
yeah,
because you want to make sure you're profitable at the end of the day. You don't
yeah,
just want to have a business where you're spending money just to make money.
No, exactly.
Right. And then
Exactly.
what are you doing? Yeah. So profit is definitely important.
Yeah.
Um, were there any moments that you felt like you might have quit or given up
Mhm.
or you wanted to throw in the towel?
There have been a few. The first one was, in the beginning, it's a struggle, but I think the first time that it was the combination of, oh yeah, I've got this figured out. I made X amount of dollars this year. This feels good. I finally get to pay myself a chunk. I want to buy a house. I think I can make a down payment. And you go and do your taxes and you realize, oh God, oh my God, almost all of this is just going towards taxes. Naivety
Yeah.
of not having a solid grip on bookkeeping.
Okay.
But that was when I was like, seriously, I went through this kind of existential thing. And it's funny because my sister's an entrepreneur as well. And she recently posted about this same thing is just when you think you're like getting somewhere, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, amateur, what was I thinking? That was hard. It wasn't that I wanted to
Yeah.
quit, but I was like, why am I working so hard? I do that to myself still sometimes, but not as much as I used to of the long hours and coming up
Yeah.
with excuses for why I can't see my friends because I have all these other projects I should be doing or, like those kind of things. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? This is not okay.
Yeah.
Not in a way that I want to quit, but just I need to recheck my priorities. I think
Yeah.
those are some big ones. Another kind of crazy time was, like I don't know how relevant this will be for newer entrepreneurs, but 2008, 2009 were kind of boom years, and then the economy really tanked. And I
Yeah.
probably lost half of my boutiques, like half of my wholesale
Wow.
stores closed, stopped reordering, downsized. A few stores owed me money still. Like I was letting them do like net 30,
Oh my
net 60
gosh.
terms. Thankfully, most of them were very gracious and at least said, "We'll give you back the bags that you did send us to cover our balance and that kind of
Expenses.
thing."
Yeah.
But that was scary, and it also was a big wake up call of back in those days, I barely had to market. Instagram, social media, those kind of things didn't exist. Not really even
Yeah.
email campaigns, just pure SEO alone, and a couple press features got me fabulous business.
That's
So
awesome.
that was it. And I felt like I made a note. There's one other one that I was thinking about that I really, really wanted to
Yeah.
throw in the towel. Um, no, those are the major ones. But I gotta say,
Okay.
honestly, every 2-ish years, I would love to just throw everything in a pile and watch it burn to the ground. And about 48 hours
I
later, someone, or sometimes even sooner than that, my community is awesome. Remember one time
yeah.
my friend Ciara, who runs this awesome workshop in Portland about goal setting, particularly for entrepreneurs, is I'd confessed to her that I was really feeling like I was feeling really overwhelmed. And I'd just moved to New York. I'd moved my whole business to New York. And I was part of a small fashion incubator that was folding. And I was so discouraged. And she had hollered at me from across the subway platform. She said, Crystalline, you've been doing this 5 years longer than any of my clients ever have. She was like, you're in this for the long
Yeah.
haul. You've gotten this
Yeah.
far. You've got this.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's a
feel every entrepreneur goes through that. Like it's a roller
yeah.
coaster ride. You have these highs where you're like, people are buying and selling and you're doing great. And then you have these such low lows, right? It's like a huge opposite. And you feel like, oh my gosh, do I need to go get a job? What is going on? I'm not
Yeah.
making any money. Like you start to second guess yourself.
You
Yeah.
totally do. And I think that's also one of the least favorite things about business is that roller coaster of
Yeah.
finances and that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And somehow I still deep down put a little bit of my confidence or my self-worth on, oh, did I get an order for this? Like, did the store reorder? Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard to separate myself from that.
Yes, yes. And it's important to do that because you don't want to rely on, only getting sales or only getting so many followers on Instagram or so many
No.
likes for your bag post or something, right? To
Yes,
make yourself feel good at the end of the day. That's why I tell a lot of my clients, like, have an even keel attitude.
you
The
have
highs are
to.
great, but the lows are going to come and just kind of remain like even keel as much as possible. So we have a great
Yeah.
question from Eileen. So going back to
Mm.
what you were talking about, cutting your expenses down, she wants
Oh,
to know
yeah.
if you can give some specific examples of some expenses that you scaled back on besides your own salary, she said.
Of course. No, yeah, didn't skimp on that one.
Oh, good. Okay.
No, no. The profit first thing is that you get $100, you subtract your cost of goods, half of that remaining money immediately goes into your own personal bank account, period. Then you pay your expenses. That's some scariness right there too.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that one more time. So if you have $100.
If you have $100, subtract your cost of goods of that product that was sold. So 30% or whatever your cost of goods is. And then that remaining amount, so if it was $30 in cost, you split that $70 in half. You keep 35, your business gets 35. You can even it's terrifying and also kind of empowering because it just kind of made me draw a line in the sand of like, you know what?
I need to pay myself.
I need to pay myself. I'm paying myself, but I can't live the kind of life that I would like to be able to have off of that. I keep sacrificing and giving money back to the business when there's a certain level of things that I would like to be able to have and enjoy. And I deserve that. So,
that's
sorry.
Everyone though, I feel.
For sure. And I only read the book about 2 months, so I'm not the expert, but so a lot of the expenses, what I ended up doing is I just made a list of the apps that I've been using. Well, actually, a good trick could be switch your credit card, shut that credit card down, and you'll find out what notifications you get in your email. I did that a little bit too. But a lot of it was some of the extra apps that I have on my Shopify website. I was paying, I think, about $70 in extra little apps that I thought, do I really need these? Do I really use these? And I thought I can always add them back. I even shut up Dropbox just for like a couple, for just about a week, and then I was dying. I needed it back, but I wanted to just see what I could kill. My phone bill, if your phone is paid for, you can do a prepaid version with your carrier, and it's so much cheaper. It's insane. I'm just paying I used to pay like $140 a month for my phone, and now I'm paying like $65.
Oh, that's awesome.
So just little stuff like that, but all of the things add up.
Yeah, or even switching phone carriers. Like I did that recently to try to get my cell phone bill down, and it was crazy how much I reduced it. Probably like 40 or 50 bucks a month I was able to take off.
And it's like if you multiply that across 12 months, I realized, well, that could buy that heat press that I want. That could buy this thing that I want to get. Like it really put a dollar amount on, do I really need this stuff? There's got to be other things that I need more.
Yes, exactly. Totally. So definitely look at all the expenses that you have going and see what you can cut down. Inga wants to know, she just joined us. What book was it that you were referring to? Profit First?
It's called Profit First. And the guy's name was, his last name is crazy. It's like Mike Michalowicz.
Okay, something along those lines. We apologize, Mike.
Sorry. It was a great book.
No, it's good.
Well, it's a girl named Crystal, and I understand that people don't know how to spell or pronounce my name either. But it definitely was a good, I don't want to say wake up call, but it has been a good challenge, and I'm thinking about things a lot differently, and it's been good for me.
Yeah, and I like your test of like turning stuff off and seeing if you really miss it, because that's a good test.
Yeah.
It's a really good test.
It was
shut stuff down and then see if you actually need it like the next week or not.
Because at the end of the day, you need a website, you need your email campaigns.
Right.
Like really, truly, like to just keep those. There's not a whole lot you have to have. Do you need that extra SEO app and that backup thing on your anyways? Yeah.
Exactly. So speaking of SEO, you mentioned that was part of the reason you did very well in the beginning. Was it something that you did on your own? Did you outsource it to another company?
I read a book. Apparently there's a theme going on here. This doesn't work as much anymore for buying domain names, but I had the foresight to buy the domain veganhandbags.com and redirected that to the vegan collections on my website. I also own recycled leather bags, and that directs to the collection on my website. So that helped in the beginning because like InStyle Magazine found me a gajillion years ago for the vegan side of things. But I wish I could remember what the book was called. If you want, I can figure out what it is and send it.
But
honestly, you know what? The most relevant thing would be the SEO Moz, M-O-Z.
Yes.
They have so many amazing resources. It's super helpful for that. And SEO is still extremely relevant. And I'm surprised how many people kind of overlook that and go straight to AdWords.
Oh my gosh. Yes. A lot of people don't know anything about SEO. A lot of my
Yeah.
clients have no idea. I just had a client, literally, she's had an online store. She hasn't been getting any sales. She had no keywords built into the back end of her website,
Oh,
zero. And she
jeez.
had no idea why she wasn't getting any traffic. So
Yeah.
it's huge, guys. Like, nobody talks about this stuff, and it's not like the sexy side of being a
No.
designer at all. But this stuff is super, super important for traffic to come to your site. Like, you've got to have it.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. And I
Yeah.
have to give credit to my friend Meredith, who her early days was SEO, and then she started a perfume company. And that's how I met her, was through the craft show market. And she really was the one
Okay.
that kind of nudged me. She had the perfect balance of an awesome product, but she knew how to
Okay.
do the SEO to back it up. But it's just basic things. Describe what your product would be like to a blind person, and you'll find it. Long tail
Right.
keywords really seem to be helping. And that's the
Yeah.
number one refer to my site is organic search.
There you go.
So
And you also blog too on your
I do
website,
blog. I do blog. So that
which I
helps the
know helps
content.
a lot.
It
Yes.
helps. It's hard to slow down and write things. I definitely am not a champion, not a role model for that, but I definitely do try, and it does seem to really be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And how about social media? So, since social media has now become a huge way to drive traffic and
Yeah.
all that stuff, do you feel like it's working for your business? Do you feel like you get a lot of sales from social media? What do you find you're getting the most sales?
Um, you know, I really don't enjoy social media.
Okay.
I think some of it comes from it being kind of a new-ish thing.
Okay.
I was an early adopter in being a part of, MySpace and Facebook and those sort of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
But when it
yeah.
comes from a business perspective, I'm finding it hard to kind of separate myself from my business to find that cadence. What has really helped for me is to think of it more from a merchandising perspective of, okay, we're doing a photo shoot. These are the bags we're going to do. This is when it's going to launch, and using a planning app like Later.
Okay.
The free version, you don't even have to pay for it.
There
Um,
you go.
to plan it out ahead of time and just kind of have a
Yeah.
cadence. Obviously, doing live Instagram things and the more kind of and like what we're doing right now, that stuff really works. But the
Yeah.
other content sort of things, it's just you need to have some credibility, and some of it's like vanity metrics of having X amount of followers, and I chased that for a while, but I have a good following as it stands. My email newsletter is much, much, much stronger than social is for me.
I'm not surprised.
So
Yeah.
that's what I keep building on is building on the email marketing side of things. And again, you can build automations in place, birthday discounts, follow up for asking for reviews, just keeping people engaged and having like a VIP list of our insiders to find out more and be more involved. That really still seems to be the thing that works. I sound so old, but I feel very
No,
classic about
it's
what's always worked.
yeah, and email marketing, I still tell people it is the number one way to drive traffic to your site, to get sales. It
Yeah.
is 40 times as effective as social media. Like, everyone talks about
Yep.
social media, but email is still, even all the sales, like I just ran a 4th of July course sale for my own business.
Oh yeah,
All of
yeah.
the sales, I want to say 90% of the sales came from my emails. Yeah.
It's just
It just works.
And if
It,
people are
you know,
skeptical, like tell them to log in or put Google Analytics on their website. You'll see very quickly where your traffic's coming
yeah,
from. There's
yeah,
your answer. If social's
exactly.
working, God, do it. I'm not saying that you
Of
don't do
course.
it or I hate it
Of course.
but it's a necessary evil. That's
Yeah,
what I
it is one
think.
of those necessary evils. I agree. I totally agree. And so, which email marketing provider are you using? Because I know MailChimp and Shopify are now kind of divorced and split, and
Yeah,
there's been a lot going on. Have you had that issue or?
I had a few issues. I actually, interestingly, in January, I decided I've been on Mailchimp since I think 2012 or so. Right, I switched to
Okay.
Shopify and Mailchimp around the same time.
Okay.
And Stitch Labs, they all kind of work together to make everything happen. But in January, I had been kind of playing around with kind of more MailChimp on Crack app called
Okay.
Springbot. And they promised to be a
Huh.
little more robust and to have higher conversions. And it was kind of a dashboard that linked all of your social media campaigns, your discount codes on your websites, your email blasts. They worked with you one on one weekly to do it. It was awesome. It was a very robust, pretty amazing thing. It was also $500 a month.
Oh my
And I said
gosh,
I'd
that's
give it six
crazy.
months, see
Yeah.
what the numbers really look like. And you know what? MailChimp was just as good for me. My numbers did not spike the way I thought or that I wanted them to. I learned some really cool tips on just building more automations, but
Okay.
you can do
But not
automations
worth
in
it.
MailChimp's. MailChimp's a
Yeah.
little less user friendly if you don't know how to get your head around how to set those up.
Okay.
Um, but if you can have, partner with someone else who does know how to do it and reach out to another entrepreneur of how did they do it, swap advice. MailChimp is still great, but it was a little buggy when I switched back once they did their breakup and we had to integrate the, what's it called? I can't even remember that
ShopSync?
thing. Yes, it was
ShopSync? Okay.
it was
Okay.
buggy. Emojis weren't working and my stats were all weird, and it
Okay.
seems better now.
Okay. So you're
But
still doing the MailChimp, but you're
mhm.
using the ShopSync to do it. Gotcha.
Yep, yep. And
Okay.
I'm still
Cool.
using that. Um, it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but it works. And my open rate is much stronger still with MailChimp rather than when it was with
Oh,
Springbot. So
okay.
that was,
Interesting. So definitely not worth the $500 a month, that's for sure.
sorry, Springbot, you guys were awesome, but
We
not
don't
worth
like you.
$500.
So funny. So Rakina says, yes, she used the strategy. You have $10 left to spend, which is something that I taught her in the How to Drive Traffic online
Aha,
masterclass, and it worked. She got a lot of sales, so that's awesome. And yes, email marketing is still really good. Awesome, Rakina. Thanks for sharing that.
thank you.
Cool. So if anyone has any last minute questions for Crystalline, type them in. We'll ask her. I know that we've got a bunch of you on, so feel free. Hey, Sharuz, how are you? Nice to see you on. I guess my last question, what kind of advice would you have to startup designers that are listening right now, that are thinking of starting a line or have a line and they're kind of
Mm.
struggling getting it going? What would you say?
I would say don't overthink things too much. A lot of people that I talk to that are starting out or want to start out, I think they think, this is just my opinion, I think some people think they need to have their whole plan completely baked out and have a whole
Yes.
entire robust business plan and you should, that would
Yes.
be great. But for some of us that are of whatever I'm made out of, sometimes you kind of just need to put something out there and see if it
Yeah.
sticks. And you
Yeah.
don't have to go that whole route of having everything figured out and thought out. I mean, don't overpromise bags to someone or product to someone and then don't deliver, but
Right.
you don't have to really get too crazy and you don't have to overly engineer your product. It's like, what did they call it? The least viable product. Put something, just the idea of something out there and see where it goes. And you can always make it go from there. But I think it's just a matter of like just putting it out there in the first place and not
Yeah.
not getting in your head about it.
I totally agree. Taking action is so, so powerful. And I feel like a lot of people just stay in their head and they think and overanalyze. And I'm a very much an overanalyzer. So I like literally force myself to take action because I
Yeah.
have to. Otherwise, stuff will never get done. And sometimes the action will then motivate you, right? If
Oh,
you sew up a
completely.
sample and 5 people want it and then they're like, oh, can I have it in this color, in this color? That's going to motivate you to
Oh,
keep making them and keep
completely.
going
That's why I
as
just made a
opposed
bunch of one-off
to
photo shoot samples for tomorrow because I just want to see what
yeah,
sticks, see what
yeah,
see what people
exactly.
think.
A
It's
lot of it is testing.
and you can't let the fear hold you back. You have to find a way to like let the fear.
Exactly.
Wait, if you're afraid, I feel like it's something where it means you're really close to something. Like you're just on the other side of it, but you kind of have to go through it. You kind of
Yeah.
have to just stick through it. And there's always something really amazing on the other side as long as you and then you're so glad you did.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Awesome. I second that advice. Totally. Awesome. All right, guys. Does anyone have any last minute questions for Crystalline? I know Inga said that she doesn't understand why Shopify doesn't have its own email marketing. Yes, I agree. I think Shopify is kind of going that route.
That's possible.
And I have a feeling why that's part of the reason they broke up with MailChimp. I know MailChimp said they didn't agree with their terms and services, but
Mm.
we'll see what the real deal is at some point. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Shopify has their own. Eileen wants to know because you didn't do seasons, do you
Mhm.
worry about how often you're putting new stuff out?
I do. For me, it's a matter of organization. I should be smart and set a cadence for when I'm going to release my collections. A person who does a very good job of being seasonless and not following the fashion calendar is Tara St. James of Steady. She pioneered that. And if you just Google, I think the anti-fashion calendar, she's got a blog post about that.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay.
I think it would be smarter if I set a cadence of you can expect a new collection every 2 months or new whatever, but that also smells a little bit like fast fashion to me as well. So I don't
Gotcha.
go that route. But sorry, can you repeat the question? Because I felt like I actually had a really
Yeah.
good answer for her and I went on a
Um,
tangent instead.
that's okay because you didn't do seasons. Does this worry you, or did you worry about how often you were going to put out new stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I think not putting out new stuff is both a blessing and a curse in my world. I tend to have the same silhouette and introduce new materials. Once a silhouette is designed, I don't change it. I maybe improve it, but it still stays in the line and new fabrics would come out every season.
Right.
Um, I think that yes, there can be a downside to not putting out new things frequently enough, but then there's also the side of having your things last a long time and people love and care for it and tell their friends. And you hope that that organicness of the word of mouth and just the loyalty builds by
Yeah.
having something that sticks around as well.
Plus, if someone loves something, right, they're going to come back and buy it again in another color,
Yeah.
right? Like there are so many things I wish I could buy again in another color and they're
Yeah.
discontinued and
Yeah.
stores don't make them anymore. And it's like,
Absolutely.
crap, like I want this again.
It's true. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's a trap to newness. Like I don't think that it has to be as much newness as you think. Just because everyone else is doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it works right for you. And I think
Yes.
there are other ways to make it. Just like you don't have to put everything on sale all the time. It could also be like a special event, or it could be an exclusivity with a store, or you can only get these on my website, or there's a lot of other ways to go around it. It doesn't have to always be like the new thing.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. And then Iwana, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, wants to know, do you think that having a presence in boutiques instead of being e-commerce only is important?
Definitely.
Yeah.
My revenue is split almost exactly down the middle, retail to
Interesting.
wholesale. And
Okay.
I definitely think being in stores lends a level of credibility to customers. And
Yep.
maybe it's a form of marketing in and of itself. Just like pop-ups, you may not do well at the show, but they might save your card, they might keep your information. And wholesale stores tend to be sometimes the best ambassadors of your brand. You can't be out there seeing everybody, but if you have a good
Yeah.
relationship with the store and customer sees your work there, a gajillion percent. Wholesale is its own beast and a whole nother way to run a business. It's two kinds of marketing and two kinds of business, but it's a very key part for me, both relationship wise and money wise and marketing wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know often with small boutiques, you can get somewhat of a deposit up front sometimes, which could fund your production, which
Yep.
is great.
Ideally, that would be
So
great. Yeah.
unless you're doing pre-sales or something like that on your website, it's hard to get that money up front to fund your
Yep.
production,
Yep.
which it's all about the money at the end of the day.
It sure is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Crystalline. This has
Thank
been so much
you.
fun having you on, hearing your story. It's so
Sorry I went off on
inspiring.
tangents, but I hope it was
No, I
helpful.
loved it. I loved it. It's so inspiring. It's just great to hear people's backgrounds, where you come from, how you think about things. Like you think very outside the box. You're like, hey, I don't want to do, buy a roll of fabric, and I don't want to be committed to seasons, and that's great. That's awesome. That's very creative and very like daring, and it's working for you, which is
It's
awesome.
working. Yeah.
So
Thank
thanks
you.
everyone for tuning in. Don't
Thank
forget to
you.
follow Crystalline, her Instagram. I linked it, Crystalline K, Facebook, her website, crystallinek.com. And don't forget to shop. I love, by the way, your little cord tacos. I definitely need to get one of those. I think they're so cute. They're just so, so cute. So go buy a cord taco. They're 18% off with code CELEBRATE18. So definitely take advantage. Also, anyone that's interested in learning more about fabric sourcing, we're going to do a Fabric Sourcing 101 event at Tex World. We also have our amazing fashion tours coming up. We have 1 ticket left for our LA manufacturing tour, 2 tickets left for our New York City tour. So definitely make sure that you grab those. And next week we will be back, same time, same place. We're going to do a case study of the brand Maison Clio. So for those of you who don't know, Maison Clio is an amazing brand based in France, and they have an amazing line. And we're going to talk about why they're so successful. So thanks everyone for tuning in. See you next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Crystalline. Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.